We've faced all manner of creatures and monsters from the estate. Everything from the unnatural to the disturbing to things that shouldn't even exist. And yet they do. Fighting these creatures can test the mettle of the best adventurers. But what if one of these fiends was to join our ranks? Then the question becomes, what's greater, our desperation or her thirst for vengeance? Such is the case for Constance, the Duchess. She has clear ties to the courtyard, the Countess, and the Crimson Curse, although she has embraced the effects of the curse more willingly than others. While most of her history is shrouded in mystery, we do glean some details from her trinkets, quotes, and descriptions. The story told through her trinkets is a most curious one. They all come from the Crimson Court, and they each represent something. Her past, present, and perhaps even her future. In her youth, she was a member of the nobility. Her days spent in lavish affairs and degenerate parties. It was during this time she took up the noble art of fencing. Her instructors were harsh and quick to punish failure. Still, she was one, if not the best swordsman in the court, her skills honed by years of practice. Hence the trinkets representing this time frame, the cracked fencing helm and the bent blade. It was during this stage of her life she developed her rivalry with the Countess. Their shared hatred of each other fueled their animosity, until one day, the Countess simply disappeared. To where or what happened, no one knows. But when she returned, she was changed. While that covers the past of the Duchess, what is there to say of her present? The two trinkets that represent that are the Letter of Contrition and the Tainted Vintage. Several years after the disappearance of the Countess, Constance would receive a letter from her nemesis, along with a vial of blood. The exact details of the letter are unknown, but whatever was written inside was enough to goad her into traveling to the estate. And what of the blood? Did she consume it by accident, by deception, or out of her own free will, in an attempt to mimic the power of the Countess? Whatever the case might be, one thing is clear. She gave in to the power of the blood, and she paid a heavy price for it. Since her transformation, she now seeks vengeance on those in the court, and to tackle that threat, one needs an army. Mutually aligned interests make for uncommon allies, especially in the estate. Constance wants the heads of those in control of the courtyard, and so do we. Makes sense why we put up with her more beast-like qualities, along with her ravenous hunger. True to her nature, she is a skilled warrior, and the Crimson Curse has increased her already impressive strength. She wields a massive black blade, handed down as an heirloom from the court, cutting her enemies down with one massive cleave. Or she could transform into her monster form and charge headlong into her foes with an insatiable hunger of the curse. She will actually gain some comfort from this act, perhaps because this is closer to her true form than her human one, giving us insight into her unique affliction. Taking the Duchess into the courtyard and having her face down the members of the court can lead to some interesting comments and interactions between her and the courtiers. She finds the Baron to be a coward who relies on his whip too much. She sees the Viscount as a gluttonous pig, but still denies any similarities to herself. Finally, the Countess, her longtime rival. The Duchess will make references to their previous interactions. how they once played games and dueled for sport, but this time, it's for real. She will comment on her familiar anger and how her tricks will no longer work. And once their last duel is over, how she will decorate her throne with the Countess's head. A bold statement, which leads us to her last trinket set, her potential future. Assuming she lives long enough to usurp the throne from the Countess, she will eventually acquire the deed to the courtyard, along with a basket of heads from various bloodsuckers, with the quote tied to it being, "An empty court, playing host to a bloody coronation." It seems like the Duchess will remain in the courtyard to claim the bloody crown. But there is one more thing to bring up. Claiming the courtyard is a fair goal, but ultimately short-sighted if the thing underneath the manor isn't stopped. Constance will acknowledge this if she is sent down into the dungeon, willing to even set aside her vendetta in the court until the greater threat is dealt with. Ultimately, the Duchess isn't so different from our typical soldiers in the hamlet. She might be more violent, bloodthirsty, and pretentious than the rest, but she is still willing to fight, and we can't turn away someone with her strength and skills. We all want the same endgame. The Crimson Court butchered, and the thing underneath the manor defeated. For now, it's best to put aside our doubts and focus on the task at hand.